Church. We are so excited that you've decided to join us today, and we want to take a chance to get to know a little bit more about you as well. So I encourage you to please fill out the Connect card either in our app or on our website at calvary.church/Connect card. From there, you can let us know where you're watching from and if you might be interested in learning a little bit more about any of our ministries. Calvary's vision is to be a community of Christ followers who love God, change lives, and transform communities in our homes, in our cities, truly all over the world. Go to calvary.church/missions to find out more about what we're doing, and we want to invite you to join us as we reach the world. We have prayer teams you can serve on, mission trips all over the globe. So if you'd like to take a next step in missions, make a note on your Connect card, and we will be in contact with you this week. Well, that's all for now. Service is about to begin, so please go forth and get ready to learn about the Lord in a whole new way.
Good morning, church. If you're able, would you stand to your feet with us today? We're going to lift our voices now to the God who makes a way when there's no other way, to the God who keeps his promises to his people, the God who is the light in the darkness. So let's just lift our voices together in true worship to our God today. Come on, let's sing. Sing, you are here. You are here. Moving in our midst, I worship you, I worship you. You are here, turning lives around, I worship you, I worship you. You are here, moving in our I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every life. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop, never stop. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Sing waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. So God, we look to you as the one who makes a way. That's why we lift our praise to you today, because you're worthy, God. Lord, we love you today. Come on, let's continue to worship together. I raise a hallelujah in the presence of my enemy. I raise a hallelujah louder than the unbelief. I raise a hallelujah. My weapon is a melody. I raise a hallelujah.
fight for me.
Sing a little louder.
In the presence of my enemies.
Sing a little louder.
Louder than my unbelief.
Sing a little louder.
My weapon is a melody.
Sing a little louder.
Heaven come to fight for me.
Sing a little louder.
In the presence of my enemies.
Sing a little louder.
Louder than the unbelief.
Sing a little louder.
My weapon is a melody.
Sing a little louder.
Heaven comes to fight for me.
Sing a little louder.
I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm. Louder and louder, you're gonna hear my praises roar. Up from the ashes, hope will rise. Death is defeated, the King is alive. I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm. Louder and louder, you're gonna hear my praises roar. Up from the ashes, hope will arise. Death is defeated, the King is alive.
I raise a hallelujah. I raise a hallelujah. I raise a hallelujah. I raise a hallelujah. Amen. Who breaks the power of sin and darkness, whose love is mighty and so much stronger, the King of glory, the King above all kings, who shakes the whole earth with holy thunder, who leaves us breathless in awe and wonder, the King of glory, the King above all kings. We sing, this is amazing grace. This is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross. You would lay down your life, that I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I see This is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross, you would lay down your life, that I would be set free. We're set free. Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Yes, we sing of what you've done. We sing of what you've done. When darkness tries to roll over my bones, when sorrow comes to steal the joy I have, when brokenness and pain is all I know, oh, I won't be shaken, oh, I won't be shaken. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Shame no longer has a place to hide. I am not a captive to the lies. I'm not afraid to leave my past behind. No, I won't be shaken. No, I won't be shaken. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. There's power that can break off every chain. There's power that can empty out a grave. There's resurrection power that can save. There's power in your name. There's power in your name. There's power that can break off every chain. There's power that can empty out a grave. There's resurrection power that can save. There's power in your name. Power in your name. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. When I'm standing in your love, my fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. When I'm standing in your love, God, stand on the rock of your love. Stand on the rock. I'm standing in your love. So God, today we say that we stand on the rock of your love. A rock that's never shaken and never moved, God. We know that you constantly love us. We see that in your pursuit of our hearts, God, today. We thank you for your presence in this place. God, thank you for allowing us to join together for your name's sake. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Hey, before you're seated, why don't you turn and tell somebody around you hello today? Well, hey, thanks for joining us today in worship. It's so good to have you here today. If it's your first time, we want to extend a special welcome to you, okay? When you came in, you received a service handout, and at the bottom of that, there was a Connect card. If you wouldn't mind just filling that out, letting us know who you are, how we can be praying for you. In a minute, the offering is going to come by. Just put it in that offering plate. We'll get that later. Or better yet, if you take it to the big desk after service, people there would love to just meet you and put a face to your name, help you get connected here at Calvary. If you wouldn't mind, take out your phones for just a minute. If you don't have the Calvary Church app, you should go ahead and get that. This is like a shameless guilt trip right now to get the Calvary Church app. But at the top left, there's an icon that says, Help Kids This Christmas. That's what we're all about this Christmas, is helping kids. There's a few different ways we can do that. You can see more in the app. See, shameless plug again, yeah. So check that out. Today I want to highlight Operation Christmas Child. There are a bunch of shoe boxes out here in the lobby. Can we give a shout out to our students for putting those boxes together on Wednesday? Yeah, thanks students. So if you would, just fill a box, send it to a child who otherwise wouldn't get anything. Behind every box, there's a face, and that face has a name, right? Just like we do. And so we want to just be able to bless that name and just help them in their story, in their life. So speaking of the app, if you would, go to your settings. Keep that out. See, I'm plugging away at this today. Come on. You got to go to your settings here and then go to notifications and turn on the push notifications. Here's why. Next weekend is Time Change Sunday, and this is the good one, right? This is the one where we fall back, we gain an hour. You can't really be late to church, but if you're early, we certainly will put you to work, okay? Putting out coffee and donuts and all that kind of stuff. So don't forget to set your clocks back. The good thing about those push notifications is just a way for us to communicate to you, especially with winter weather coming up and stuff like that. You know, if we have to change around services or whatever, you'll be able to just get those notifications there. The ushers are preparing to come to receive our tithes and offering, and as they do that, I just want to encourage you to just steward what the Lord gives you really well. He blesses us, and so in turn, we bless him back for the advancement of his kingdom, and he does that in ways through Calvary that we're going to learn about today as Terry comes. It just talks about the past year that we've had. And so as the ushers come, just take a look at the screens and ask the question, what's been going on around here at Calvary for the past year? 56 Fusion, you guys are good to go.
Well, do you want to give the Lord a hand? Doesn't that fill your heart when you see what God has done? Over 100 kids just at VBS who came to Christ, 300 people on mission trips, 700 families, right? Really blessed because of your work and God working through you. So thank you for what you do to help make Calvary, Calvary. I have 2 jugs here. One is kind of full. And let's just say this represents a life. Does you ever want your life to be full? And maybe there are times you feel full, like full of love, full of family, full of hope, like you just feel full of God, feel full of His presence, full of peace, full of joy, just feel full. Don't you want to be full? Like life is lived differently, right, when you feel full. Right? You have something to give to people. You can endure problems differently. When you feel full, you have something to offer. You have more patience. I mean, sometimes the goal, right, in our life is to feel full. Most times, though, I just want to be honest, sometimes a lot of us feel this way. Right? My guess is some of you here this morning, this is you. Like you just barely made it. You're like, hey, Terry, you just be thankful. Like I got out of bed, I made it to church. I'm feeling kind of empty. Right, empty of love, empty of hope, no peace, empty of relationships. Maybe you wonder where God is. When you feel empty, right, it's hard to face challenges. When you feel empty, you're impatient, you're irritable, things bother you more. Right, you want to go run and hide when you feel empty, try to escape things. Often when we're empty, we don't make the very best of decisions. Well, let me ask you this morning, which do you feel, full or empty? Or maybe somewhere in between? Probably a better question is, how do you get this way, right? How do you get to the point where you are full? And you look at society and the internet and TV, and they tell you all sorts of ways that you can feel full, how to be your best, right? And a couple of years, or last year, I think it was Cardi B had a song called Your Best Life Now. How do you feel full? Your best life. Wiz Khalifa the year before. Another one, Your Best Life. Oprah Winfrey, she had a whole book based on her magazine, like Your Best Life Now. You Google that phrase, Your Best Life Now, you'll get over 6 billion web pages telling you how to have your best life. On Instagram, hashtag Your Best Life Now, over 1 million different pictures, people posting, right, what their best life is. You know what people post pictures of? Their best life now, when they feel kind of close to this way. It's usually they're drinking some sort of like green juice. I'm not against green juice, but there's got to be more to life than just that. That's like their best life. Right? Or they're sitting kind of on a balcony overlooking the mountains and the mist is rising and they're sitting there alone. That's their best life. Or they're by an infinity pool in Greece and the blue of the Mediterranean is behind them. When you look at people's pictures, right, of their very best life, what their best life is, it often takes a lot of money and you ain't working because you're relaxing. And your best life, right, it's kind of solitude, alone, where it's just you and there's nothing else. And you think, how selfish is that? If you've got your best life and you're not sharing it. How selfish is that if you've got your best life and it's not benefiting anybody else? But that's what we want. We want just our best life. I just want a little bit of comfort, a little bit of peace, a little bit about me. Jesus never came to give us our best life now. You can search the scriptures. There's no hashtag Your Best Life Now in the Bible. Jesus did not come to give us our best life. He came to give us a full life. It's what He said. I've come that you might have joy, and your joy might be what? Full. Paul writes in the book of Ephesians, he says that you can be filled with the fullness of God. That's what He came for, that Jesus came to fill us up with the very fullness of God. And a full life in relation to Jesus is one that is on mission and in community together. It's what the Bible says. That the fullness of life in Jesus, it often comes when we are on mission, serving Him and together, and we do that in community. And we talk about that. That's part of our mission statement, that we are a community as a church of Christ followers who are loving God, changing lives, transforming our communities in our homes, in our cities, in our world. And you go to our webpage, we kind of describe it this way. This is who we are. If you're new to Calvary or just checking us out, this is who we are. We are a group of imperfect people. Amen? We're not perfect. Right? And sometimes that's the lie. Oh, everybody's at church. They got to be perfect. We're at church because we're imperfect. We're a group of imperfect people, but we're loved by a perfect God. And we're called to something greater than what we can ever even imagine. And we seek to be a community of Christ followers who are loving Jesus and others. And as an outpouring of God's overwhelming love and work in our lives, we want to be a group of people who are making a difference, right, in the lives of others, in their homes, in their work, in their community, literally around the world. That the fullness of life in Jesus comes when we are on mission for him in community together. It's who we are. Peter writes about that in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. You may want to turn over there. Peter's writing to a group of people who maybe don't feel full. In fact, they feel kind of empty. They feel empty because they're persecuted, ridiculed, they've lost their jobs. Many of them are facing difficult times because of their faith in Jesus. And Peter says, I want you to know in Jesus how full you are. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, he says, but you... Right, he's writing to these people who are experiencing difficult things. You are what? A chosen generation. God has chosen you. Of all the people, of all these places, God has chosen you what? For a mission, to be a royal priesthood. Connect people to God is what a priesthood does. Connects people to God. A holy nation. You're living life differently. You have a whole new king, as we talked about last week. You're living in a different kind of kingdom. Strangers and aliens here, but we are a nation of people because we have a whole new king, his own special people. Why? That you may what? Proclaim the praises of him. You have a purpose. You have a mission to proclaim his praise. Why? Because he's called you out of darkness, as we just sang, into his life. He stomped out the grave. Fear doesn't stand a chance because of what Jesus has done. The fullness of life in Christ comes as we are on mission, declaring his praises together in community as his people. And so this morning I want to do just something a little different. We just want to talk a bit about Calvary and talk about this kind of idea of what it is to live fully as his people and his church. And we just want to talk about kind of things that are of value to us and things in the future. And three things that we just really want people at Calvary to be about. We want people serving, we want people in community belonging, and we want people dreaming that God's going to do so much more. And so the first thing he says, serving. He says, you are what? A people of God, called out of darkness. Why? To declare his marvelous light. Now, if you just started reading the Bible, if you had no idea of what Christianity or church was or what it was to gather as a church, and you started reading the New Testament, and you started reading about what the church, right, is supposed to be, as you read the New Testament and read Jesus and read Paul and you read Peter, you would never ever think that church is to be a place where people gather at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning or 9 o'clock or on a Saturday night and kind of sing a few songs and hear a message and leave. If you read the Bible, you would never ever think, oh, church, that's a 1 hour time slot where people sing a few songs and they hear a nice message. That's not the emphasis of what the New Testament says. Yes, people gathered, and yes, there was worship, and yes, there was teaching, but we have created a form that wasn't there. When you read the New Testament and you say, let me understand what church is, you would see that the emphasis of the New Testament is that we are to be on mission together. God calls his people to be on mission. He calls you to go and what? Make disciples, teach people, and lead people to Jesus. He calls you to love one another. He calls us to go and declare his praises and to be just on mission for him. You've got a calling, you've got a purpose. And you would soon realize in your calling, in your purpose that Jesus gives, that it's tough, it's not easy to go and make disciples, to go and declare his praises, to go and make a difference, to live on mission every day for Jesus. We get beat up. We get discouraged. The enemy puts up roadblocks. We sometimes don't know what to do. And when you read the New Testament, you see each person, you are on mission, and that can feel kind of lonely at times because it's not easy to live what God has called you and me to live. Now imagine, though, as you are living on mission, you get the Bible and you go, okay, Jesus has given me a mission. I got to go into the world, make disciples. I got to go live on mission for him. Imagine that you discovered you're not the only one doing that. Imagine that you discovered that there are a few other people who are on mission together and a few other people that might be able to help you. And if you knew that there were some other people living on mission for Jesus, what would you naturally want to do? You'd want to get with them. You want to find out how they do it. You'd want to learn from them. You want to be encouraged by them. You would want to encourage them. You'd want to be a team together on mission. That's the church. See, we've made the church a place where people can just kind of come and sit and have a few songs and listen to a message and kind of evaluate, does that do it for me or does it not? That was never the intention of the church. Jesus' intention is that the church would be a place where men and women, young and old, would be on mission together, needing one another, supporting and encouraging one another to be able to accomplish what God had asked them to accomplish. It's kind of in military terms, I see it kind of like an aircraft carrier, where planes come in and they what? If they come back from their mission and they refuel, they recharge, they get a little bit of tune-up, and they do that. Why? So they can go back and accomplish a new mission. In church, this is a place where we come. We're refueled, we're retooled, we're recharged so that we can continue and be on mission together. And when Paul speaks about the church, it's not a consumeristic idea where people just kind of receive. It's a place where men and women passionate about Jesus are on mission together, because so much happens more when people are together on mission. There's something about being filled when that happens. The Apostle Paul, he writes, he says, he says amazing thing. He says, I feel like in my service on mission, I'm being what? I'm being poured out like a drink offering. He says, I feel like I'm being emptied and emptied and emptied. Yet what happens? He still feels full. Because when we're on mission, serving together, in community with others, we have enough to pour out and pour out and pour out, and yet still feel full. And I love when that happens here at Calvary, when people do that, when they're on mission and they're on mission together. As you saw there, it takes a couple hundred people each weekend for a service. Isn't that crazy? People sometimes think, oh, I don't think they need me. I don't think they need a place to serve. We need you. There's 150 other people who are needing you. And people do their own thing so that others can do their thing. I love it. There are people here. You need to pray for them. Like, be thankful. There are people here, 6:30 this morning, getting coffee ready and everything for refreshments so you don't have to have breakfast at home, or your kids don't have to have breakfast at home, and you can have something here. Right? There are 50 or 60 or so people teaching, people who are greeting and welcoming, everyone doing their thing on mission together here. Even our children's ministry, this is the benefit of being on mission in community, is that we don't have to do everything, or we don't have to be able to do everything. We can maximize our giftedness as others do that. Some people, they welcome in their ministry. Some people, they serve. Some people are on a security desk in children's ministry. Some people host. Some people teach. One of those people who teach, her name is Linda. Linda's here 3 services out of 3 every weekend. She's here Saturday night teaching. She's in the children's ministry teaching this morning. She'll be in service next service. She just has such a passion, such a hunger. She says, God's gifted me to help share and teach kids. And so she is there passionately teaching her kids. Why? So they can learn about Jesus, so other people can be hosts, other people can do their thing. She loves that. And then there's Tony. Tony's a member of our On Track group. It's kind of our singles ministry. They're meeting right now. They've got a class. And Tony, a while back, caught a vision, caught a connection to work with a pastor kind of downtown with some of the street people and the homeless. And every Sunday afternoon, he's down there, and he takes some of the people from On Track down there and ministering to the homeless and sharing Jesus and helping them. And somehow, Linda and Tony talked. And Linda was saying, you know what? In our children's ministry, we've been talking about Abraham and talking that God called Abraham. And one of the things is God says, Abraham, I'm going to bless you. Why? So you can bless the world, that we are blessed to be a blessing. So she said, how can we teach our kids that God blesses them to be a blessing? So she got them, and obviously some of you as parents, because you probably went to the drugstore, to say, would you bring something to bless the homeless with? Would you bring like some deodorant, some hand sanitizer, toothbrushes, toothpaste, granola bars, something to eat? Would you bring those? And last weekend, many of your kids brought a whole bunch of those. And they put them in packages together, toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant. Each kids wrote a note. They had 100 blessing bags. Out of last weekend, we got enough. Just one weekend. I mean, we didn't make a big deal about it. In fact, I didn't even know about it till after it had happened. That's what I love about church, when Christians do what they're supposed to do and the pastor doesn't have to tell them. That's church, right? When people live on mission. And so last Sunday afternoon, you can see there's a bunch of pictures on Facebook that Tony and some of the people from On Track took 100 of those blessing bags with notes from your kids to people in our city because they've been blessed by God to be a blessing to others. That's the church. I love that. Pastor Matt was telling me we have this incredible kind of opportunity. Like, this just blows my mind, that our Neighbor Helping Neighbor Coalition. It's kind of started with Pastor Matt and a few others in the city. And Pastor Matt, who works kind of in our care ministry, in our community ministry, he knows the frustration that people have when they get bounced from government agency to government agency. Has that ever happened to you? You know, you call this and they're like, oh no, you have to call that. And they say, oh no, you got the wrong. You call them and you call that, and you get frustrated and you give up. And so he said, what would happen if there was coordination between like schools and social services and government agencies, city and county, and between church and parachurch and ministries? And they created this Neighbor Helping Neighbor, so that if the school identifies a family that is in need or in crisis, there are people there in coordination to help everyone navigate. And people are calling St. Charles County from other cities and other municipalities to say, how are you doing what you are doing here? How can we duplicate that in other places? Because it's making a difference. There was a woman, Matt was just telling me, a woman who had been working and working but couldn't make enough to provide housing. You realize if you make if you make $2,000 a month in St. Charles County, that's not enough to live, to afford rent and live and pay for your kids. $2,000, it's not enough. She was working and working, was being evicted because she didn't have enough to pay her rent, and got connected with Neighbor Helping Neighbor. I mean, this woman found a home, found a place. These kids have stability. A couple weeks ago, at our St. Charles campus in here, about 150 single moms who got oil changes on our parking lot. You should have seen this place a couple weeks ago. There were upward soccer games on our fields. The parking lot was covered with people who were changing oil. There was a funeral that was in here, a birthday party, a parenting class that was going on. This place was humming. And 150 women who not only just had their oil changed, but had a chance to connect with someone, hear about Jesus, get some prayer, have someone pray, be invited back, be invited to something else. And we shared with you a few months ago how Chris Bance, our pastor to St. Charles campus, how he got connected to Calvary and got discipled and got growing because his mom out at our West campus went to an oil change. Right, one step. It changes lives. An opportunity to do that. 300 people almost this year, 300 of us literally gone around the world teaching and training and sharing faith and inviting people to enjoy the kingdom. The church is far more than a place to come and be comfortable and sit. You need the church because you need others to help you on the mission of serving Jesus together. And we need you serving here at church, serving in our community ministry, serving around the world. And we need people in our hospitality ministry. We need people at our doors. I don't know if you have met Brent. He's kind of the guy in the orange cap, I think, out front, greeting people as they come in. And I know some of you have said, I came back because I felt welcomed. I came back because someone greeted me. People at our doors, our ushers, working with their children's ministry. If you love to just kind of work steward kids, we had a family who came and they had a special needs child, and the special needs child was sitting here in the adult class because they have some significant needs and some significant medical needs, and the parents didn't know, could anybody look after that? And Stacy, our special needs director, she went up to them and she said, you know what, we want your child to hear about Jesus in our children's program. We will find a shadow for you. Your child is not someone we see with needs. Your child is a VIP, is an important person. And she found a shadow and someone to walk with that child. And we have a number of kids with special needs who have shadows because they're VIPs to us. And some of you are able just to kind of rest and worship and connect and recharge and get filled up again so you can go on mission because there are shadows. Maybe you want to consider doing that twice a month, maybe. Just helping a child who needs a little bit of extra time. There's people, I got a note a while back from someone in Minnesota, and I was like, oh, okay, Minnesota. They're like, we were watching you on Sling TV. I didn't know we were on Sling TV, but you can catch, right? You can catch our online service on a number of different things. We're watching it. We want you to know, Pastor Terry, how what you said, just the right time, really ministered to us. We need camera people, right? Sound people, online people who can help us, people in our tech booth, people who worship. We need people to help in our community ministry. We need people, right, who will go and be Jesus around the world. And if you want to serve, you can go on our website. You can go on our app. I mean, you just can follow along there. There's opportunities on our web. Just go to serve. We kind of make it easy. I just want to serve. Okay, go to the serving. You go to serving at which campus, serving at what area. There's ministry teams, children's team, our community ministry team, creative tech team, student ministries. If you just want to general, I just want to serve somewhere, hospitality team, mission team, you can do that. You can go sign up. There's a place there. It'll send an email. If you don't hear back in a week or so, would you call me? Like, call me. Okay, if you don't hear back, you call me. We'll make sure you hear back. All right, we'll make sure that happens. Because this is the church. It's people who say, I'm on mission and I need some other people to help me. And the fullness of life comes when we are serving Jesus, but it comes when we are community together. We need people when we belong, that we're serving, but we want to belong. And notice what Peter here says, that we are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, people called out by God to declare his marvelous glories because we've been called out of darkness into light. And then in verse 10, this is what he says, once you were not a people, once you didn't belong, once you didn't have a connection. Right? And some of you know what that's like. Some of you maybe in school, you know what that's like. I don't feel like I belong. I don't feel like I have a group. I don't feel like I have a tribe. I don't feel like I belong. Once you were not a people, but now what? You are a people of God. You are a community together. You belong. And church is not a place to attend. It's a place to belong. It's a place to know I got family. Once you have not received mercy, but now you receive mercy. Once you were not a people, but now you are a people. And one of the ways that we help people belong, and this is part of what we do, is that we provide small groups and opportunities for people to be in groups together, about 75 different groups. People who say, more than just on a Sunday morning, more than just kind of gathering in a large crowd, I need a group of people to belong. And what happens is when you have a small group and a place where you belong, and you have some belonging, when you come on Sunday morning, then you feel like you belong even more because you see some people. You welcome some people. You can sit with some people. You think, I've got a people. I belong. I'm in. And certain things happen. We were meant to be in community together. The Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, is in community together. We were meant to be in community together. In fact, Solomon, in his wisdom, where he writes a whole book called Ecclesiastes, you can turn back there in the Old Testament, and Paul is talking about just the meaning of life, kind of what gives us a good life, what gives us a full life. And he says, there's a lot of things that are meaningless. And one of the things that's meaningless is just being alone, toiling by yourself, toiling just for you. Now, he's not saying you have to be married. He's not saying anything about singleness, because you can be married and feel very alone. You can be single and feel very connected in community. He's talking about relationship. And he says in Ecclesiastes 4:9-12, 2 people are better off than one. Again, not necessarily that you're married, but who's your tribe? For they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help, but someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, 2 people lying close together can keep each other warm. But how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but 2 can stand back to back and conquer. 3 are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. Now, sometimes we use that passage in a wedding, talk about husband and wife, in the sense of God coming in and being the third cord. But Solomon wasn't writing just about marriage. He's saying, this is it. You need a team. Who's your team? Because trying to be on mission alone, that's a challenge. You're going to wear yourself out. You're not protected. Right? Who's your team? Who's you're partnering with? Who are you partnering with in ministry? And we even do this as a church, right? We partner with other organizations. We partner with missions. We partner in community because we are stronger together when we partner. Who's your team? Who's with you? And what does Solomon say? There's something about a team that you're able and better to handle hardship easier. Right? If you're alone, Solomon says, it's hard. You fall down, you've got the elements, it's hard to deal with hardship. You've got a team, you can help each other, keep each other warm, support each other. When hardship comes, that's something that's appealing about the church. When people outside see Christians who are dealing with hardship differently. I met with someone recently. He said, hey, Terry, I just want to thank you. Thank you for having Celebrate Recovery at the church because it helped me in a time of hardship. So a while back, I was going through a real difficult time. It was messing up my life, messing up my home, messing up my work. It was just a really difficult time. And someone suggested that I go to Celebrate Recovery. And I went to Celebrate Recovery, and there were some people who really cared about me. And they helped me see Jesus. And it helped me deal with some of my hurts and habits and hang-ups in my life. It helped me get my life on track. And I'm not there. I'm not perfect. I'm not even feeling full, but I am certainly on my way. And he's connected with Jesus. Reading the scriptures every day. Connected with Jesus every day. Because it says, in my period of hardship, I needed a team. I needed a tribe. Once I was not a people, but now I am a people. This fall, there's about 30 people going through grief share. People who have lost a loved one tragically. Over 30 people. Most of those not from church. Don't you love this? The funeral homes say, when people are struggling with grief, the funeral homes in our community, do you know what they do? They say, you go to grief share at Calvary. Because they will help you. Right, friend, I don't think we realize sometimes the gift God has given us of a reputation in our community. The community college across the street calls us, the church, you know what they call us? Their community partner. What academic institution in the nation calls another church a community partner? In fact, they send their students here on service projects. In fact, a couple weeks ago, we had a whole bunch of students who were fixing some chairs in there. They do some gardening. They hang out with Christians. The community college says, hey, students, why don't you go hang out with some Christians for a day? And here we have the funeral home saying, hey, if you're struggling, you need to deal with hardship with a team of people. And there are some people that celebrate, or people at Grief Share will help you do that. We have teams of people in small groups, and they just do life together. They support each other. One family is struggling, or one single is struggling. The whole group is there to support each other because we are all on mission together, and we can't do it alone. Jesus has a mission, and the mission has what? A church to help accomplish that. We have about 70 different small groups. You can sign up online. You can go to your app. That's why I want the app. You can just go there, which campus, what day of the week, what time of day. Send that. It'll send kind of a connection. And again, if you don't hear back, you call me. We'll make sure that you get connected. There's a number of different groups. You can see, kind of, here's a map of like, okay, all those groups, right? Isn't that amazing? Groups of people in all these neighborhoods, people who are on mission, sharing Jesus together, and they're doing that. You can sign up, you can go online, you can find that. Sometimes what happens in a small group is that it helps people take their next spiritual step. That's part of what it is. How do we help people grow spiritually? And we have what we call a spiritual growth guide. And sometimes small groups go through this. And here's a growth guide. It just, how do you grow? It kind of helps you take an inventory of yourself and your spiritual life and where you are, what God is doing in your life, and what your next spiritual step is. Because it's easy to get stagnant, right? In our Christian life, think, well, we've got it. I'm here. I've done that. Easy to get stagnant. And I encourage you, if you've not done that, just said, hey, help me just kind of get a handle of where I am in my spiritual life and what my one next step, if I'm to kind of connect with God more or grow spiritually or make an impact or feel kind of full, what's my next step? Serving. Belonging. Are you serving? Do you have a group where you belong to? Were you once not a people and now a people? And thirdly, would you dream together? This is the church. Would you dream with us what God would do? Abraham Lincoln, years and years ago, was in New York. It was on a Wednesday night. He was with his assistant, and he went to church, New York Ave Presbyterian Church. After the service, the assistant said to him, Mr. President, what did you think? Did you like the message? And the president said, well, it was very well done. It was thoughtful, well presented. And the assistant said, oh, so you liked it then? And the president said, no, I didn't. It failed. And the assistant said, what do you mean it failed? You just said it was well articulated, thought out. It failed because it did not ask us to do something great. It failed because it did not challenge us to do something beyond ourselves. That we live in a world where we are invited to do our own size tasks. The church, a royal priesthood, a chosen generation, a people after God, is called not to do normal tasks, but God-sized tasks. What's God calling you to do? This is what God always does. God calls Abraham out of his own land, out of it minding his own business, and calls him to do something that's seemingly impossible. It says, Abraham, I want you to go to another country. I want you to go to Canaan. I want you to father a whole new nation, a whole new people. You're going to be the father of a people. You were not having a people, but now you have a people. And you're going to be the father of that. And in Romans chapter 4, we see that Abraham kind of wrestled with that a little bit. And in verse 17, it says, as it is written, I have made you a father of many nations. Abraham, I'm going to make you the father of nations. He is our father in the sight of God in whom he believed. And this is what Abraham believed, what caused him to do a God-sized task. He believed that he is the God who gives life to the dead and calls into being things that were not. That why was Abraham able to do kind of a God-sized task? Because he says, I know that God can do what? Bring life from the dead, and that God can call into existence things that were not. That we have a God who can bring something out of nothing. Now, sometimes we use that and we get very selfish with that and we say, hey, God, I want a big house, or I want money, or I want prosperity. That's not what Paul is saying about God, that we have a God who can resurrect dead dreams and dead visions and dead things in our life, and who can bring into fruition things that are not existing. This is our amazing God, what he can do. Right? That we have a God who can give us a dream, a plan, a purpose, and bring into being things that seem absolutely impossible. I was sitting with Greg this week. And Greg and Tina and their family, they went years ago. They went year after year with their girls to Memphis and did a short-term mission trip there and led some of the youth there to Memphis and caught a vision. And they said, you know what? We should do the same in our own city. Why are we leaving our city with all its needs and going to another city? So a few years ago, they just started going with kind of another group downtown, and they would go every Monday night, and they'd kind of connect with some of the homeless people and help give out some food and some clothes, and they were down there in that area by the dome, and they were kind of working in there. And then they said, we just can't come once a week. We just can't come and kind of do a little bit of thing, because it really is, how do we bring Jesus? And so they began to pray more. And they began to go every summer now for a couple years. They do kind of backyard Bible clubs and a half-day VBS in the park. And now other youth groups from other communities are coming to help them. Our youth group has gone to help them. They go door to door. They share Jesus. They just had a trunk or treat party, kind of connecting with the community. And then there was an abandoned building. I mean, they have no money. They don't have an organization. It's just a couple. And they said, we think God wants us to have that building so that we can have a place in cold and inclement weather to share Jesus. And 2 weeks ago, they closed on that building. They got a lot of work to fix it up. But they closed on that building. Wednesday nights, they go and they have a meal for people who want to have a meal. Thursday nights, they have a Bible study. A number of the Crips gang members are at that study. Last week, the police officer said, you need to understand, in the last 6 months, crime has decreased in this area. And we attribute it to some of what you are doing. A God who brings something out of absolutely nothing. And why is our faith so small? And they can use people to help, and they can use people to help with their building. I mean, that God is just doing amazing, because they've been faithfully saying, we have a God who, when we see nothing, he brings something. What's God? Birthing. A few of the things we want to do in the next year. Next year, it's kind of a fun year. It's 2020, right? That's next year, 2020. We think 2020 sight, 2020 vision. It's a great year. How do we have? What's God saying? How do we build on what God has already been doing? And we just kind of have a vision of just spiritual growth. How do we take people deeper? And what would it be? What would it be to be a church of filled people, where people feel spiritually filled and refreshed? What would it be? We talk about this, how can we refresh the souls of our staff, make sure the staff souls are refreshed? How can we make sure that we are a church of refreshed souls, where people feel that they're growing and maturing and taking their next step, and that they are living on mission in community together? How can we fresh people's souls? One of the things we want to do in December, we just think, so many people I know just kind of depleted. And we're just going to spend the whole month of December on Christmas joy. What would it be just to sit on the topic of joy for a bit? Next spring, we're going to call us all to a deeper level of prayer. We're going to have 40 days of significant prayer as a congregation. Call us to believe that the God who can bring life from the dead and can bring something out of nothing has called us to pray. Next September, we're going to start a whole series. I'm so excited. A whole year. We're just going to do a year chronology of the life of Jesus. Who is Jesus? We call ourselves Christians. We need to know who Jesus is. What would that be? To be a church of refreshed souls. What would it be to be a church of just vitalized families? Right? If the enemy is attacking anywhere in our culture, he is attacking families. He attacks singles sometimes by making them feel that they're not anything because they're not married. He attacks singles, like you've got to be married. And we have some great singles groups, and singles ministry On Track is one of them. But how do we help families? How do we help families in significant transitions in their life? How do we partner with families and help them spiritually pour into their kids? How do we help families when their kids go off to school, or the kids go to middle school, or the kids go off to college? How do we help families when they're empty nesters? And we've had some great conversations in the last couple weeks, and I'm looking for, in the new year, we're working towards kind of a whole revitalized kind of ministry to 55 and plus, kind of some exciting things that are coming there. How do we help revitalize families? That we're a place where families feel full. What would it be like, right, if people were a church where we are ready and eager for Mondays? My guess is Mondays is kind of like the worst day of your week. It's like, oh, it's Sunday afternoon, Monday's coming. And one of the reasons is we don't know how to take our faith to the water cooler. We don't know how to take our Christian faith sometimes into conversations. We don't know how to dialogue about some of the challenges. How do we talk about racism in our city? How do we talk about homosexuality? How do we talk about the legalization of marijuana? How do we talk about a number of these different things? How do we dialogue about them? And what would it be if we had some opportunities and different opportunities and discussions and ways that people could feel better equipped to be ready for Monday in the conversations that are there? And what would it be like to be radically hospitable? Right? Radically hospitable. And we want to beef up our welcome team and beef up kind of our hospitality. How do we beef up our hospitality even in our building? We've just finished remodeling one of the bathrooms here to be a fully handicap accessible bathroom for our special needs population, to be radically hospitable to them. Want to finish kind of some renovation and some refreshing in our children's ministry. We'd love to make this atrium kind of more hospitable so you can really have a conversation. I don't know if you struggle, maybe it's just my old ears. It's hard sometimes to have a conversation because it echoes. How do we change that up to be a place where people want to come? Some of you come during the week and you'll do some work and connect to our internet. What would it be if this was a third place where more people just wanted to come and hang out and be here during the week? What would it be to kind of refresh kind of some of this area, to be radically hospitable? What is your dream? And the worship team is going to come and we're just going to have communion, but I'm just going to close as they're coming. In order for that to happen, we need just for you to be generous and get behind and dream with us. And we need you to financially kind of help us. We don't talk about money. You can go to a lot of church. I'll tell you, we don't talk hardly at all about money. And I just want to say we're a bit behind. We got behind and stuck in the early part of the year because of some snowstorms and services we had to cancel, and we've just not really been able to make it up, and we're behind. And when we are financially behind, that hinders dreaming. It's hard to dream. It's hard to be excited. It's hard to plan when you're just hoping, can we pay the bills? And so if you towards this end of the year could be extra generous to us, we appreciate what you do. We would love that so that we could dream, so that God could do so much more to fill us. 2,000 years ago, Jesus came and he died on the cross and he rose again. He conquered the grave so that which was dead could come alive. And he's given us a mission. And the night before he went to the cross, he gathered his 12 closest friends together. And he said, now the mission continues with you. And now the mission continues with us. And he said, I want you to remember, you need a team. You need one another to accomplish the mission. Whenever you gather together, I want you to take a piece of bread and break it and bless it. And he said, this is my body, that I am present with you. The mission is about me. He took a cup. He said, this is the blood of the new covenant, spilled out for you, poured out for you. It's for the forgiveness of sins, so that you would know that that which is dead can come alive. And as you take the bread and the cup, as the ushers distribute it, before we all take it together, I just invite you to reflect, what piece of the mission is God calling you to? What part of his mission is he calling you to, ushers?
The head that once was crowned with thorns is crowned with glory now. The Savior knelt to wash our feet. Now at his feet we bow. The one who wore our sin and shame, now robed in majesty, the radiance of perfect love now shines for all to see. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. All praise will rise to you, God. The fear that held us now gives way to him who is our peace. His final breath upon the cross is now alive in me. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Oh, all praise will rise to you, God. By your spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. By your spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your
before he died, he took bread, he broke it. He said, "This is my body given for you." He came on a mission. He came to surrender his life so that things that were dead could come alive, the things that were not could come into existence. He invites you and I to take that, invite him into our life, be part. Remember, he is always present. The life giver is always present with us. Let's eat together. And Jesus took a cup and blessed it. He said, "This is the cup, my blood, symbol of that poured and spilled out for you, for the forgiveness of sins, for hope, for life, for power to live." A reminder that we have gone from darkness into light, and we are now called to declare the marvelous glories of him. Let's drink together. Jesus, thank you that you are the life giver. Thank you that you bring something out of nothing. Thank you that you've called us to a mission far greater than ourselves. Thank you that you called us to a life where our joy can be full and we can be filled with the fullness of God. I invite us to stand as we worship and celebrate the resurrected King.
The tomb where soldiers watched in vain was borrowed for 3 days. His body there would not remain. Our God has robbed the grave. Let's sing that again. The tomb where soldiers watched in vain was borrowed for 3 days. His body there would not remain, for our God has robbed the grave. Our God has robbed the grave.
Together. Let's do that. May God bless you this week. May you go in his grace and peace. God bless.
Thank you for joining us. Stay up to date with us by liking our Facebook page and following us on Instagram.